Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. I am glad to see you all this afternoon for this special session, mindfulness. To understand what mindfulness is and to practice mindfulness. Here we want to understand how to practice mindfulness to create better leaders to the world. For this purpose, I am going to touch upon 6 different subtopics. These are the subtopics. What is mindfulness? How to develop mindfulness and why? How to apply mindfulness and clear comprehension (MCC) in daily life, daily routine as a leader, duties of a leader to his or her companions, 7 undefeated factors for the successful existence of a company or an institution. Let's understand from the very words of the Buddha, original teachings. The Buddha once said, Andha bhūto ayang loko. This world is blind. That is how he said. The world is blind. Only few, it is not even a few, but only few can see properly and follow the right path to peace. Again, he said, there are 3 kinds of persons found existing in the world. What 3? The blind, the one-eyed person, and the two-eyed person. So this is why he said, world is blind. Again, why world here means people. People are blind because they are not known about what is to be done. They don't know properly, clearly, things as they are. I believed this talk is for you all to understand real nature, to understand and to see things properly. As the Buddha said, blind means there is a blind person and a one-eyed person. One-eyed person means the person who is focusing only the material gaining, only think of this world. The two-eyed person means the person who thinks of a material life and the spiritual life, this world and the next world. So that is how we should know, we should understand our behaviors, our way of living, our way of life. We have to think of material things and the spiritual things as well. Referring to mindfulness, the Buddha said mindfulness is the way to deathlessness. Unmindfulness is the way to death. Those who are mindful never die, but unmindful ones are like already dead, though alive. That is referring to mindfulness. You know, the Buddha was mindful throughout his life. He was born mindfully, led his whole life mindfully, and passed away mindfully, according to his original teachings. from Acharya Abhuta Dhamma Sutta, from Majjhima Nikaya, the middle length sayings of the Buddha, Mahasiha Nada Sutta, Sangarava Sutta, and Mahaparinibbana Sutta. It is very clear. He said from his early days, as he was born mindfully, and he led his whole life mindfully, at the end, even at the end, he was mindful when he shed his last breath. So friends, according to his teaching, this term mindfulness is the key. That is why we have to understand mindfulness. Therefore, for this talk, our topic is, what is mindfulness? The mindfulness is the key. It is the way to live happily, peacefully, light-heartedly. Mindfulness is to be developed as a faculty, as a power, as a factor of enlightenment, as right mindfulness, which leads to right concentration, right knowledge, and right liberation. This is the path. One has to practice mindfulness. When one is practicing mindfulness day by day, it is developing, it is cultivating. Then it becomes a faculty. It's so powerful. Then it becomes a power, mindfulness power. Then it becomes a factor of enlightenment through which leads us to the attainment of enlightenment, to come to the real path and understand real peace, real happiness. For that purpose, we have to practice mindfulness. That is called right mindfulness. You know, there is wrong mindfulness. That is why there is right mindfulness also. The Buddha taught us what right mindfulness is. If we have right mindfulness, only then we can come to right concentration. Right concentration leads to right knowledge, and finally right knowledge leads to right liberation. That is the way to understand. So let's understand what mindfulness is. What is mindfulness? Essentially, mindfulness means attention or bare attention. In other words, awareness or non-judgmental awareness. There are different shades of meanings. Alertness or ever alertness, earnestness, diligent, vigilant, or watchfulness. These are some synonyms for mindfulness. The term mindfulness, when we use, you see, now we have to use all these different terms to explain what mindfulness is according to our language. We have to use many different terms, but the Buddha used only one word which has only 2 letters and 2 syllables. That is what is mindfulness, for which he used the word sati, sa-ti, 2 syllables. But even in English we have to use 4 letters, S-A-T-I. There are 4 letters. So Buddha used only 2 letters. Here the words of the Buddha, sa-ti. That is the richness of that language which he chose to convey this wonderful message of peace, wonderful message of reality, to understand reality as it is. So mindfulness is necessary to practice and develop in order to understand that reality, the reality in the world. There is a reality. it is to be understood by humans. Mainly we as humans, we have this opportunity because our mind is a developed mind, so that we can further develop our mind. We need to understand this. We need to understand this to our intuitive. We have to understand this intuitively. It is through our own experiential wisdom. That is, in other words, meditation. That is mindfulness. This first we need to understand. When we talk about experiential wisdom, is there a difference between wisdom and knowledge? Yes, there is a clear-cut difference. Knowledge is to gain knowledge. We gain different data. We all learn a lot from our early days of this life. Many sources, we used many sources. Through many sources we get data and collect many things in our mind. Now our mind is full with many data. We know many things. That is why most people say, I know. I know means you know, but what you know are eventually nothing but, for the real purpose, nothing but garbage. We have collected many data, no purpose eventually. But we have to understand the difference. Knowledge is necessary. Without knowledge we cannot go to understand wisdom. Without knowledge we cannot understand things properly. Therefore, for the basic thing, for our basic purpose, we need knowledge. Knowledge is to gain many data. Then how wisdom comes to be? Wisdom arises within ourselves. Wisdom arises when our mind is calm and quiet. In order to gain wisdom, we all have to calm down ourselves, calm down our body, calm down our mind. Then wisdom grows there. It is because of our mindfulness practice. When we practice mindfulness, we can understand, we can see through. That is what is called wisdom. We gain the power to see things, see through, because of our wisdom. So day by day, when we study these things and when we practice, we can understand things, we can realize things. That realization is possible. That realization is possible only through wisdom. Mindfulness is not a thought, not a concept. It is not an idea, but a mental action, a psychic luminosity. Mindfulness arises before a thought, before a concept, before an idea. We conceptualize and verbalize. Before we conceptualize, mindfulness is there. That mindfulness is possible, it is there, and as an innate quality which is to be developed and cultivated. Mindfulness and perception. Let's understand this little bit. Mindfulness to be developed when we have our perception. There are 6 senses. We all have 6 senses. Our 6 senses are to be guarded at the time of contact. If we guard our mindfulness, our 6 senses, we can understand, we can apply mindfulness and understand things as they are. Otherwise, we end up with either attachment or repulsion or delusion. Even though we use the term neutrality, it is delusion. For instance, when we see something, we have eye and there is a form. Now, simply having eye and form, we cannot see things. In order to see things, we have to have consciousness. Then eye, form and consciousness, these three should come together. When these three come together, that is called contact, phassa. At the time of phassa, we have to be mindful. At the time of contact, we have to be mindful. If we are not mindful, what happens? If we are not mindful, we end up either with attachment or repulsion, or in the middle. We come to the middle, though we are not mindful, we do not see the real nature of the object. We do not see its arise in nature, its pass in nature, it is benefit, how it is coming to exist and it is escape. We don't know these things because we are not mindful. If we are mindful, then we do not grasp it, we do not cling to it, we know attachment. Instead, we can develop panya, wisdom. Panya means wisdom. We can develop wisdom. That is how we have to understand these six senses and how to apply mindfulness when we see things, when we perceive different things. That is what is called perception. At the time of perception, we have to be mindful. If we are mindful, we can control our senses. If we do not control our senses, we simply either grasp the world or we repulse, or simply we stay without knowing, with a deluded mind. Buddha gave some similes to mindfulness. Buddha said mindfulness is like a responsible driver. You know, as all of you, I guess all of you are driving. You know, when you drive, you have to be mindful. How to be mindful? It is said when you drive, you have to drive 5 cars. You have to drive 5 cars. The car in front of you, the car behind you, the car on your right side, the car on your left side, and your own car. Why? You have to be alert. You have to be aware of what is going on, this side, front, back, and your own car. That is how to be mindful, be aware of what is going on. So the Buddha said, like the mindfulness is like a responsible driver. He has the responsibility. He has to drive carefully, like a skillful driver, careful driver. He has to drive properly, right, like that. Then the Buddha said mindfulness is like a stick to the bull, to an ox. Suppose a person needs to take an ox across a field, across a paddy field or corn field, through a corn field. Now there is a path, footpath, on which you are going to take the ox across the to other side. Then you have to use a stick, otherwise the corn is not yours. This field is not yours. It is going to eat these things. The ox is going to eat. So therefore, to prevent the ox, you have to use this stick all the time. You have to use the stick on this side, on the top, like that, and you have to push. You have to drive him to take the ox quickly. In order to take it safely, you have to use a stick. So mindfulness is like a stick. Again, the Buddha said mindfulness is like a door keeper, gatekeeper. Like gatekeeper should be at the gate. When we meditate, we apply that. We have to give attention to the tip of our nose, and we have to keep the attention, keep our mindfulness at the entrance of our nostrils. We don't go inside to check what is happening inside, or we don't go outside and check, but here at the entrance of the nostrils we have to keep our attention, our mindfulness. That's like a door, like a gatekeeper. Then another example, another simile Buddha gave was elephant's neck. You know, the elephant's neck is short. Whenever the elephant, as it is short, the elephant's neck is vulnerable to the attack of lion. Lion is always jump onto the elephant's neck. So whenever the lion is around, the elephant has to be very careful to protect his neck. Whenever the elephant is turning this way, that way, he should not turn only his head. He can't do that. He has to turn whole body. That is how he prevents the lion, because by practicing that he strive to protect her neck. Just like that, we have to understand mindfulness as the elephant's neck. This is given in the Thera Gatha, Sati Giva Siro Panya. In the Thera Gatha it is said, Sati is mindfulness. Sati is like the head, like neck. Siro Panya, Panya, wisdom is compared to the head. Basically, there are two kinds of mindfulness. When we talk about mindfulness, we have to understand two kinds of mindfulness. Mindfulness of power and mindfulness of memory. Mindfulness of power is to be developed in the present moment. The first person who developed and cultivated mindfulness of power was the Buddha. Buddha developed and cultivated mindfulness to human perfection. That is how he became the Buddha. The second one is mindfulness of memory, through which we can remember many things in the past, many lifetimes, even thousands, millions, trillions lifetimes, what we did, how we lived in the past. But all these are memory. Through memory, one cannot come to understand reality, understand things as they really are. One cannot attain different stages of holy life. One cannot attain full spiritual liberation. So these are the two kinds of mindfulness: mindfulness of power and mindfulness of memory. So let's now understand mindfulness, how to develop mindfulness. Mindfulness can be developed. It is true that the Buddha said mindfulness can be developed. Mindfulness is an innate quality to be developed. All beings have mindfulness. Your pet, like dog, cat, they have mindfulness. You must have seen deer. Deer is always turning its ears. That is for his protection. It is because of his fearfulness, though he is always doing like this, because mindfully he tries to understand the danger around. The cat, the elephant, they all have mindfulness. But we as humans, Homo sapiens, we have a different quality. We are different than all other beings. The Buddha realized this, realized this, and he practiced and became the perfect one by practicing, developing mindfulness to the human perfection. That is what is called Buddhahood, enlightened, spiritually enlightened person. So this is my definition for mindfulness. It is the moment to moment attentive awareness in the present moment. What is yours? Let's find it out. Let's find out your own definition for mindfulness. You can think of it. Now let's understand how to develop mindfulness and why. Mindfulness was practiced by the Buddha, Jesus, Muhammad, and many in the past. Now in the present, in the future, mindfulness is developed by many. It is a mental state. That is what is called skillfulness, kusala, which is free from three unwholesome roots: greed, hatred, and delusion. The Buddha said it is possible to abandon unwholesome, and it is possible to develop wholesome. He said, Akusalam bhikkhave pajahatha, sakha bhikkhave akusalam pajahatha. Monks, abandon unwholesome. It is possible to abandon unwholesome. Then he said, practice, develop wholesome. It is possible to develop this wholesome. There is a direct path to practice and develop mindfulness. This is the path. This is the path the Buddha said. The Mahasatipatthana Sutta. This is the direct way. Here the Buddha said 4 different things to be practiced. Establish mindfulness, the establishment of mindfulness on the body, the establishment of mindfulness on the feelings, the establishment of mindfulness on the mind, the establishment of mindfulness on the mental objects. Those are the 4 different components of establishment of mindfulness. When practice this, one has to keep 4 different qualities in the mind: ardently, clearly comprehending, mindfully, and equanimously. These 4 are to be practiced for some purposes. Buddha gave 5 purposes. He said there are 5 purposes of the establishment of mindfulness. This mindfulness is to be developed for 5 purposes. What are the purposes? For the purification of beings, for the overcoming of sorrow and lamentation, for the disappearance of pain and grief, for the entering of the path, and for the attainment of enlightenment. These are the 5 purposes. Mindfulness is to be practiced for these purposes. How to develop mindfulness and see the light at the end of the tunnel? This is what I did, and this is what, when I practiced, I understood this is the way, this is what is to be done. We practice mindfulness in order to understand the real teachings, reality in the world. The reality is not belong to any religion, any sect, any school. The reality is the 3 principles. The Buddha realized 3 principles by practicing mindfulness. Sati means mindfulness. When practice mindfulness, it is for establishment of mindfulness. This square means the 4 establishments of mindfulness. It is to be developed. It is to be practiced, the 4 establishments of mindfulness. When one is practicing the 4 establishments of mindfulness, then wisdom arises. Through wisdom we dig the tunnel. We start to dig the tunnel, and at the end you can go to the end of the tunnel. At the end of the tunnel you can see the light. That is your realization. In Buddhism there are 3 different schools, mainly 3 different schools in the world today: Theravada, Mahayana, and Vajrayana. In all these 3, they all believe, they all accept these 3 principles realized by the Buddha. The 3 principles are the most important thing: the 4 noble truths, the dependent origination, and the 3 characteristics of existence. We have to understand these principles. That is what is called Buddhism. That is what is called the teachings of the Buddha. Now, when we practice, develop mindfulness, we have to understand 2 things: know and see. Know is knowledge, as I said earlier. Know is knowledge. See is see true. See true, not mere seeing the surface. It is you have to see true. In order to see true, you have to practice mindfulness and develop your wisdom. Then you can see true. What can you see true? When you see true, what can you see? You can see 3 things. What are the 3? You can see things are ever changing. Things are ever changing. In the whole system of the world, whole universe, there is nothing unchanging, nothing permanent, nothing substance in the world. Everything is ever changing. is a flusk of changing. The world is nothing but a flusk of changing. That is what we can understand. So mindfulness and clear comprehension, these two should go together. Then wisdom arises. The wisdom arises when there are necessary conditions. Then something new come to be. For instance, a box of matches and the match sticks. When we take these two, then when you strike this, fire comes. Why? Because of the necessary conditions. So things happen because of necessary conditions. Things are interdependently existing. That is what we have to understand. That is how things come together. And some other way is avoiding unnecessary conditions. When conditions come together, then something new arises. When unnecessary things are avoided, then come something new. Something new arises. That is what we have to understand. That is what Marx and Engels did. They both combined dialect and materialism, which became dialectical materialism. That is what they did. Dialectical materialism. They joined together, added these two, and became one, dialectical materialism. Buddha did the opposite. Buddha avoided two extremes and came to the middle path. This is what the Buddha said. What he did. He avoided sensual indulgence and self-mortification. Then arose middle way, middle path. Middle path is the path of the Buddha. That is the whole teaching. Then again, the Buddha avoided two more isms, eternalism and nihilism. Then what happens? Dependent origination came to exist. That is what is happening. When practice, how to grow wisdom. As I said, we cannot grow wisdom through knowledge. There was a monk in the time of the Buddha. There was an erudite monk, very skillful scholar monk named Potila. He taught many students every day, but he did not practice. Whenever the Buddha saw him, Buddha said, "Empty Potila, empty monk, empty man." Why? He is an erudite monk. He was a scholar monk. But Buddha said, "Empty person." Why? He was not practicing. Because of not practicing, he did not realize the Dhamma. He did not realize wisdom. That is why. The Buddha once said to practice like Venerable Ananda. Venerable Ananda was one of the Buddha's cousins. When he was practicing, Buddha said, when he was practicing, whenever he wanted to give attention to see something in the north, he then give full attention to the north. That's only north. Whenever he wants to see the south, he sees only south. Like that, we have to understand. Whenever practice, we have to give our full attention to one thing. Sati, mindfulness, and metta should be combined in our daily life. Both these are to be combined. When we combine these together, we can get the maximum benefit. One day the Buddha gave a simile of the bowl of oil. When a person is passing through a crowd with a bowl full of oil without spilling, like that, one has to practice mindfulness. Mindfully, he has to go across the crowd. If his head is cut, the person behind him with a sword. Therefore, he has to be mindful and take the ball. Some methods to practice and develop mindfulness. When practice, we to give attention to our eyes and be mindful, ears be mindful, nose, tongue, body, means fingers. When we work, whenever we do things in daily life, we have to give attention to these fingers. Then we are mindful. When we walk, we have to give attention to our legs. When we turn this way, that way, we have to give attention to neck. Then when we talk, we have to give attention to our lips, like that. Whenever we practice mindfulness of breathing, we are practicing serenity and insight. That is vipassana. The Buddha said, when you practice like, keep the body like a fragile pot. Kumbhupamang kayamimang viditva. Keep the body as a fragile pot. And then keep the mind as a fortified city, as a protected city. Then with the weapon of wisdom, strike Mara, the defilements. That is to practice. So why should we practice? Develop mindfulness. Because it helps us to lead a humble, simple and successful life with a delighted heart and calmed body and calmed mind. Because it helps us to face problems in daily life bravely, smilingly, with self-confidence and a balanced mind. Because it helps us to manage, reduce and eliminate stress totally. Because it is the way to live happily, peacefully, light-heartedly in this society. Because that itself is the path for the completely eradication of all defilement and liberate our mind from all taints and attain the supreme bliss of spiritual liberation. Now let's understand how to apply mindfulness and clear comprehension, MCC, in daily life. Mine, me, myself. These are the three worst terms in our language. If we always use I, my, mine like that, mine, me, myself, then what's happened? We build our egoism, our egoistic ideas, I, my. That's instead we have to use the terms, instead mine, we have to use our, ours, me, we have to use our, we have to use we instead me, I am, we have to use we, myself, but ourselves, like that. Through this what happens? Through this we are blinded, muddled, bewildered, utterly confused and finally totally mystified. Buddha demystified its use in not mine. We have to use the term, these terms in daily life. We have to use these terms. Not mine, not me, not myself. Okay, there are three steps, three aspects of mind to be understood. Three aspects are emotional aspect of mind, intellectual aspect of mind, and the perceptual aspect of mind. Mind has three aspects: chitta, mano, vijnana. These are the three terms given by the Buddha. When the mind is connected to heart, it is called emotional aspect. When the mind is connected to brain, it is called intellectual aspect. When the mind is connected to our perception, our senses, it is called perceptual aspect of mind. So, since we have limited time, I have no time to explain this, but later on, if you want to understand further, I would like to explain. So this is the application, mindfulness and clear comprehension. The Buddha, this is a quotation from the Buddha. Clearly comprehend, this is referring to clear comprehension. Clearly comprehend whenever you are going forward and returning, when looking this way, that way, when bending and stretching your limbs, when wearing clothes and carrying any balls or tools, when eating, drinking, biting, tasting, when defecating and urinating, when walking, standing, sitting, falling asleep, waking up, talking, and keeping silent. Do all this with clear comprehension. Let's start the day with MCC, mindfulness and clear comprehension. So when you do in the your day, start the day with mindfulness and clear comprehension. When you wake up, be mindful. When you move your limbs, be mindful and clearly understand. Place in your feet on the ground, be mindful. Adjusting clothes, arranging your bed, going to restroom, when you open the door, when you close the door, be mindful. Taking brush, putting cream, brushing teeth, washing your face, wiping your face, like that. Give full attention and know it clearly, very well. That is how to practice mindfulness and clear comprehension. So this is mindfulness and clear comprehension. This is what we do. Mindfulness is not enough. You have to see the object through this microscope. You to understand, to see things, there should be a light. That is what is called clear comprehension. Without light you cannot see. Simply having mindfulness. Like that, we have to combine these two together, mindfulness and clear comprehension. So I guess this is clear to you. What will happen if we have no mindfulness and clear comprehension? The Buddha said, when there is no mindfulness and clear comprehension, then there is no sense of moral shame and moral dread. When there is no sense of moral shame and moral dread, there is no virtuous behavior. When there is no virtuous behavior, then there is no restraint of the sense faculties. When there is no restraint of the sense faculties, there is no right concentration. When there is no right concentration, then there is no disenchantment and dispassion. When there is no disenchantment and dispassion, then there is no knowledge and vision of things as they really are. When there is no knowledge and vision of things as they really are, then there is no knowledge and vision of liberation. The Buddha was mindful, fully alert when things happen. Once his own disciple, Devadatta, he trod he threw a boulder on the Buddha's head, but it hit only the splinter hit the Buddha's foot and wounded. Buddha endured this mindfully and clearly comprehending. Another time, he was gravely ill. Even that time he was mindful and clearly understood this, clearly comprehended. Even the last breath, last time of his life, he was mindful and clearly understood what was going on. That is what is called mindful and clear comprehension. If we are mindful and clearly understanding what is going on, even at the last moment of our life, then we can close our eyes peacefully. Now, mindfulness can be practiced at your workplace. These are some things to be done. I suggest you these things. Listen to every sound that you make by yourself, around yourself, sounds around you. Listen to the others carefully. Listen to others carefully, attentively, without being biased. There are 4 biases: love, hate, fear, and delusion. Secondly, pay attention to your actions and notice the beginning and the ending of each action. Beginning and the end of your action, each action. Then you are mindful. Thirdly, intentionally smile whenever possible. Intentionally smile whenever possible. 4. Notice and label objects as not mine, not me, not myself. You can ask questions if you can't understand this. You can ask questions later. Then number 5, try to focus your mind only on one object, one thing at a time. 6, observe the space between 2 separate actions. 7, give attention and observe your mind in the present moment. Your daily routine as a leader. Make decisions that are unharmful to all parties. Lead an exemplary life by leading the group from the front. That is just like the bull, an ox, the leading a group, the cattle. Lead an exemplary life. You are the head, you are the leader. So as a leader, you to lead an exemplary life. How to lead an exemplary life? You have to you have to be mindful about yourself. If you are mindful, you know what you are doing, for which you have to ask questions. Third one, ask questions from yourself to reflect whether you are on the right track, right path. That is your mirror. Keep it as a mirror. From time to time, question yourself. Provide continuous and constructive feedback with positive thinking when managing issues. Positive thinking. Buddhism, the teaching of the Buddha is to do this. Whole teaching of the Buddha is positive thinking. Buddha taught us the way for that. Be the best possible teacher among your group, as well as be a good learner and learn from all. not simply a teacher. Be a learner. Delegate your tasks by being a down-to-earth, simple human, simple man, simple person. Be a very simple person. Try to delegate things. Focus on your health as well as on the people of your group. Not only yourself, you have to think of others' health as well. And then expand your network. Day by day, try to expand your network. Focus on your family by spending quality time with your parents, partner, and children. Quality time is very much important for your parents, for your partner, and for your children. And for you, you need quality time. Therefore, think of this and apply this. Relax your body and mind from time to time. That means meditate and share this with your group. You to meditate. You to meditate means you have to relax yourself. Meditate means that. Relax your body, relax your mind. Wherever possible, sit, just close your eyes for a moment and relax whole body. Calm your body, relax your body. And the last thing, the most important thing is sleep well at the right time. Okay, duties of the master to his or her companions. Arrange duties to their strengths and skill levels. Supply them with food and proper wages. Take care of them when they are ill. Share special delicacies with them. Let them off from work at the right time. Take care of their welfare as if it's your own self. These are your duties to be fulfilled to your people as the leader. These are the things to be understood, to be fulfilled towards your people, your group. Now, the last thing is to understand is the 7 undefeated factors for the successful existence of a company or an institution. This is according to the Maha Parinibbana Sutta. The Buddha said this. Buddha said these 7 things are undefeated factors. What are the 7 things? Frequent and regular meetings in your company, in your institution. This is very important. Regular meetings and frequent meetings. Second one, meet unanimously, work unanimously, and carry out duties unanimously. Third, do not establish biased law which were not established earlier, and do not cut off established laws. Fourth one, honor, respect, and revere senior of the company and listen to them. Fifth one, do not forcefully ill-treat, misbehave, or misconduct with any female in the organization. Sixth, do not disrespect religious places in the surrounding which are respected by the local community. Seventh, maintain a good relationship with worthy and respected persons around your company. These are undefeated factors. If one is following this, it is a way, it is the way to the successful existence of that company. So that is the end of this presentation. Now is the time to meditate. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. I guess before we meditate, it is better take a few minutes, about 5 minutes break. Gamini, how is it?